Stephen, what's going on, man? Good to see you on this Saturday. How's your week been?
Man, it's been an amazing week, productive week. Still putting stuff together with my ebook dropping last week. So it's been cool, man.
Wait, hold on. You can't bring up that ebook without me doing this to you. That that that's a positivity alert. If you do not have it, I need you to go to StephenThurston.com. I'm not even waiting to the end of our show today. I'm bringing this in on the beginning. You can be reading the book while you're watching us all at the same time. Some of y'all ambidextrous like that. So go get the book. What's the name of the book, Stephen?
Unplug. It's helping people to disconnect from the digital world and re-engage with the real world.
We only want you to disconnect after you watch this, by the way.
Right.
So don't unplug while you're watching this. After this show is over, don't watch anything else until next week, all right? Which would be us. So, man, look, I'm excited. I want to welcome everybody to The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. It will be streamed, a conversation about leadership and life in a digital world. We're your hosts, Dr. RickyAllmon, along with my brother, my friend, my compadre, Reverend Stephen J. Thurston. We represent over 50 years of leadership engagement in various contexts, as entrepreneurs, as church leaders, as organizational leaders. And so that's what we're giving you today. And then we just got a host of friends that we have in our community of leaders, our community of excellence. And in this case, black excellence. And so it's good to be here. Stephen, who is this conversation for? Just in case people want to know whether they're watching the right thing on this Saturday, who is this conversation for?
For sure, man. We're targeting on a weekly basis those who are pastors, entrepreneurs, influencers, corporate execs, educators, everybody, lottie-dottie, anybody who has influence. And listen, if you got influence over your dog, your goldfish, you got influence, you got power, you're in a position of leadership. And so we need you tuning in so that you can be fueled with what's needful and necessary to push people forward. You're changing what's within you, but you're also doing that to change what's around you. That circle of influence that you have. And so if you're on Facebook, go ahead, hit the share button now.
Yeah.
So that other people in your circle of influence can get the same information that you're getting to empower yourself. And then jump over to the Facebook private group. All you got to do is type in The Revolution and the rest will pop up. 3 simple questions that will allow you into the kingdom. And then
Stephen, let's emphasize this because we're still getting requests from folk that are not, they're multiple choice people. They're not essay. You don't have to write a thesis or dissertation. We just need you to click buttons. I mean, we put all the answers there. All you got to do is say, oh, that's me, that's me, that's me. 3. So if you don't do that, we're going to decline you. We're sorry. Unless you get a personal invitation from Stephen and myself, we don't know you. So we need you to answer those 3 questions. So we can't emphasize that enough. So go over right now. It's there in the caption right under this live video. Go over to The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. It will be streamed group. It's a private group. You don't want to miss it because just in a matter of time, the only way you'll be able to watch this content is in the private group. And then from the private group, we got some other stuff for you that's just going to help you to maximize your potential, mobilize your purpose, and multiply your productivity. So listen, if you're on Facebook, share this on your timeline, start a watch party. I'm looking at y'all right now. I'm looking at Facebook. I'm trying to see how many people have shared it because we might have to start blocking you if you haven't shared this already. So we need you to share this right now, all right? Stephen, we've got some amazing guests with us today. We've got some kings in the building. And I'm going to start with family, literally. I've got my biological brother here. He knows all the secrets, so I'm limiting his conversation today. He has a gag order on him. I've already paid him off. But he is the second of 7 boys and the third of 12 children in the Allmon clan, the Allmon tribe. We literally have an Allmon tribe. 7 boys, 5 girls, 1 mama, 1 daddy, who was the only boyfriend, girlfriend they had since 8th grade. Raymond, that's a podcast in itself. And I might just have to do that. I don't even know if any platform can hold 12 people, and then we'd have to add mom in. Our father, rest his memory. So anyway, that's a whole nother story. But Raymond is there. Let me tell y'all about my brother. First of all, he's brilliant. Uh, he's a genius. I make a joke in our family. I'm number one. I'm my father's namesake. And so the joke is, notice I put the disclaimer that this is the joke I tell, is that my parents did so well when they had me on November 24th, 1972, that they tried 11 more times to duplicate that perfection and couldn't get it. They just finally gave up. My siblings, their story is that my parents did so horrible when they had me that it took 11 tries just to make up. but nevertheless, Raymond is on the front line of what he calls not education reform, but education transformation. He is a product of East Baton Rouge Parish Public Schools, Prescott Middle, Scotlandville Magnet High School. He's a product of Dillard University, where he graduated with a bachelor's degree in political science and mass communication. He's a product of Louisiana State University, where he got his master's degree in public administration. He's a member of the Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. I won't hold that against him. That's the only mistake he's made in his life. He's an amazing pianist, organist. He don't want me to tell everything, but since I have the mic, I can tell all his hidden talents. We're PKs. So he started. How old were you when you started playing the organ, Raymond?
Man, I started playing in the church about 3-4 years old. So drums, saxophone, piano, organ. But the Hammond B3 is, that's where the gift is.
Oh, we about to tune up in here, Kervance. It's about to be on.
I'm ready.
But no, he's a tennis player, so many things. But more than all of that, he's the father of 2 young Black kings. I'm so proud of my nephews. One graduated from Dillard University. He is a chemical engineer?
No, he's a chemist for Dow.
Chemist. He's a chemist. Excuse me. He is a chemist. And then my younger of the 2 nephews is at NYU Tandon School of Engineering, studying in 3 different places internationally. Amazing. Chris and Caleb. So Raymond, thank you for being here, man. I so appreciate you joining us. I'm looking forward to the possibilities that you're going to share with us out of the disparities that we see in education in the African-American community. And then Stephen, you got to introduce my brother from another. He's become a fast friend, and I'm excited that he accepted our invitation. They call him the Kingmaker. I just call him a king. But introduce our other guest host.
Listen, this is my buddy, my pal, for 20 plus years.
Wow.
We've been connected, and hails from Atlanta. He's an original ATLian. There's not too many in ATL that are literally from ATL, from Bankhead. He's from the hood, but he started at the bottom. Now he's here, and he's reigning there with Pastor Jamal Bryant, serving that family there, New Birth, as the pastor of Internet and Innovation. So for some of y'all who are looking like, what the hell is that? Like, what does that mean? Anything technological as it relates to ministry and being forward thinking, forward moving, taking ministry to the next level. Kervance does that. He also owns KDR Consults, a consulting company, which does an amazing job in various genres, transforming the lives of leaders as well as corporations, municipalities, churches, nonprofits. If you thought you knew marketing, you haven't known it until you've had a conversation with KervanceRoss. He will literally shift and shape your mind and your business to where it needs to be to impact the people that is seeking to impact. And that's what he does. He impacts lives, changing lives in so many ways. So man, I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad to have this congregation of brilliant minds in one place that reframes the picture of what Black male excellence looks like.
I was just thinking, this the band of the $1 Billion Brothers. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is, so let's do this, Stephen. I think it would be good because you know how people like to vet folk. You know, we nosy. Yeah, so well, how can who are they? Well, if you want to know who Raymond is or the rest of who he is, go to urbanedbr.com, urbanedbr.com. You see his Instagram handle right under his name, Urban Ed, or on Facebook, it's RaymondAllmon. Stephen, tell them how they can connect to Kervance.
Sure. thekingmakerclub.com. Thekingmakerclub.com. They can find out all the information there about Kervance and plug in the work that he's doing.
So let's get into this. Today, our subject is E squared equals empowered. E squared equals empowered. And E squared stands for education and economics. And what we want to focus on today is bringing the possibilities out of the disparities. We didn't come today to give you a bunch of empirical data and statistics about everything that we already know is inequitable in our community. But we brought two generals and giants on in this generation that are considered to be subject matter experts in their areas and in their fields to help us to mine and unpack and excavate some possibilities out of this smoldering heap of a mess that we refer to as the United States. And we've come to realize in recent days, it's most definitely the divided states of this place called America. Let me set context here, if I can. Approximately 120 years ago, William Edward Burghardt Du Bois, we refer to him as W.E.B. Du Bois, who was one of the founders of the NAACP in 1908, he stated that the problem of the 20th century, Stephen, in these divided states of America would be the color line. The sad irony of that is that on June 13th, heading into Juneteenth, the same can be said in the 21st century, that the greatest problem in America is the color line. I think one of the reasons is because racism has found a way to embed itself systemically in both our education policies and our economic systems. Sure. And that's why we brought Raymond and Kervance on today, because something else that Du Bois understood is that he talked about this thing called the double consciousness. Mm-hmm. When you deal with the color line, those of us that are Black Americans or African Americans, we deal with a double consciousness of being both African and American. And it's Du Bois called it a two-ness. He wrote in 1903, an American, a Negro, is two warring souls, two thoughts, two unreconciled strivings, two warring ideas, and one dark body whose dogged strength alone keeps it from being torn asunder. That's something to consider, and that's what we're wrestling with. The United Negro College Fund, in talking about the education disparities, they put out a white paper, they put out a report that had listed 9 facts about education disparities, particularly with K through 12. And statistic number 4 stood out to me, Raymond, because the statistic 4 said research has shown evidence of systemic bias. Look at this, in teacher expectations for African-American students, and non-Black teachers were found to have lower expectations of Black students than Black teachers. That's interesting to me when you juxtapose it against a story that I read about, a good 15, 20 years ago. There was a young teacher in one of our metropolitan cities, and she was in her first year of teaching. They sent her into a school, gave her a list of her students, and next to their names, Kervance, she saw 138, 145, 175, 180. She said, "Oh my God, I've lucked out. I've got the luck of the draw. My first year of teaching, and they gave me Mensa status students. I've got the creme de la creme." So she starts teaching them. And when she comes to the end of the school year, she's nominated in an unprecedented fashion as the teacher of the year, normally reserved for veteran teachers. She's nominated and ends up winning the Teacher of the Year award. So somebody comes to interview her and they said, we're baffled, we're befuddled. How in the world did you do this? She said, what do you mean? It was easy. They gave me Mensa status students. Their IQs are astronomical. They're through the roof. What do you mean, how did I do this? They set me up for success. The reporter says, the reason I'm asking you this question is because the number next to their names is how many days they missed in a school year. But because this teacher didn't know that,
yes, sir,
she responded to them based on her perspective of them. So to this point that United Negro College Fund makes about these disparities in education, it's important for us to understand that perception and perspective is everything. And I'm sure that Raymond's going to speak to that. Then on the other side of this conversation, Kervance, we've got to deal with the economic disparities. Black Enterprise identified several factors that contribute to the economic disparity in Black America. Listen to this. One, they said outside of retirement accounts, only 30% of African Americans own wealth building products such as stocks and mutual funds. Secondly, they say only 35% believe that they are doing a good job of preparing for retirement. Thirdly, they say 33% of African Americans, and this was the most critical one to me, have less than 1 month of funds saved for a crisis. We just went through and are going through a 3-month crisis so far. And we don't know how much longer it's going to last. And people are literally, I don't even know if they can find the two ends to make meat. But it says 33% have less than 1 month of funds saved for a crisis, and less than 25% have amassed more than 6 months of emergency savings. You talking about make you want to holler. So Raymond and Kervance, Stephen and I wanted y'all here because y'all got all the answers. And people are waiting to hear it. So Ray, let's start with you, man. Let's talk about the possibilities out of the disparities. And of course, you're a subject matter expert. And Stephen, and then Kervance, we want to talk about the economic possibilities. Stephen, set this up, man, and let's walk with these geniuses for a minute and see what they have to say. And that's not patronage, people. This is real talk. They got corn in the crib. They doing something. So let's deal with this.
I mean, so when we look and consider our current context with this whole COVID piece, I heard it said the other day, and I totally agree with it, that COVID is a snitch. For stuff that had been hiding, COVID told the real truth. It's exposed so much, especially from this economic and from this educational perspective. And then we consider the context of structural racism being the pre-existing condition that's positioned Black and brown people to disproportionately be impacted by COVID. We see the digital divide from the educational perspective, homeschooling. We ain't got Wi-Fi. We don't have computers. We don't have laptops. That impacts us. That further pushes us back. Right. We got Betsy DeVos, who's still playing games, siphoning off money through voucher programs.
Man.
So Raymond, come on, jump in and help us.
Well, let me jump in. Let me set a little context first, because y'all have done most of the talking. One thing that people have to understand, and this is before I jump into the education conversation, is we didn't get any pre-questions or anything. So they're setting the context for us right now.
Exactly.
I am the student amongst these giants, no doubt about it. And so y'all gonna listen to me learn out loud. And so that's what I'll be doing. So I'm definitely here to learn. So a couple of things. One, as a Black man, especially in these times, I don't think we should ever participate in revisionist history. Right. And so a lot of Black people are really copping and co-signing for public school systems. And, they have the Save Our Schools campaign. And I just want to lay it out there. I mean, saying save our schools as a Black man is like saying make America great again, because it's like, whose school?
Wait, hold on.
I mean, the truth about it is, here in the United States, schools were created in the Massachusetts Bay Colony in 1600 for white men. So that's the only people that could go to school.
Wow.
It was not free. If you sent your white boy to school, they got a bill at the end of the year, and you had to pay for it. Some 100 years later, here in Louisiana, the Sisters of the Order of Ursula, Ursuline Academy was created, which was the first continuous school for women. And so they educated white women, Native American women, kids of slaves, right? And so women in the United States would not even be educated, not because of the government, but because of the Catholic Church in this order. And you know, the United States was very resistant to that. It wasn't until Reconstruction, until we had schools created, right, the Freedmen School for Black people, and then they were quickly defunded. And so the truth about it is, schools here were not created to liberate us. As a result, you know, we have our children, especially Black boys, that are being killed in systems. And we have not been strategic enough, right, to use our tax dollars, which we can't opt out of, like Donald Trump and some others, use our tax dollars to make sure the education systems serve our students and then give them a way to liberate themselves. And so I think that's the frame that I come from, and that's the work I do, right? And I work in really two buckets. One is to end educational inequity by making sure people have more capacity to get an education, right? And then the second piece is to make sure that they have an opportunity to get an education. So they're increasing their capacity through education and then increasing opportunities for them to get an education. And my theory of change is really simple. People change everything, but you can't really change the world without having that service capacity. And that capacity comes from being educated, healthy, and then having some kind of resources, right? Something in your hand, which goes to the economics. I feel if you have something in your hand and you're educated, right, you can live a healthy lifestyle, right? If you're healthy and you're educated, you can make some money. So it's like a triangle, a simple triangle. And all of those three things together determine your capacity, right, to be of service to others in the world. And so, you know, glad to do the work that I do. I do it you know, on the political side a lot. And so you can go to urbanedbr.com. Some of the writings, Stephen, about equity being a verb and talking about the digital divide, the winners and losers in our current day is there. You can always follow me. I always have something on my mind. Glad to be here and looking to hear from Kervance. Kervance is my internet pastor. You know, when Jamal brought him on, you know, he's like, you know, check out this brother. So I mean, my smile ain't as good as his, but and all the glasses ain't as good. But he's my internet pastor. So I'm glad to be his pastor. And Dr. Allmon is my most favorite preacher. So I'm gonna put that there. Sometimes your pastor ain't your most favorite preacher, but that's a whole nother story from a preacher's kid's side.
Yes, that's another episode. We'll have to talk about that.
Kervance, I know you've been doing work in Atlanta in a myriad of ways, but you've also been instrumental in the recalibration of the city of College Park, bringing some economic justice there. A lot of Black-owned businesses, small Black-owned businesses in that corridor. So can you speak to some of the work that you're doing there in that regard and how this whole COVID piece is impacting us as small business owners that are Black?
Yes. First of all, thank you for the opportunity, the platform, and the integration of thought. I want to step back, if you don't mind. And Ricky, you spoke about W.E.B. Du Bois, and he talks about one of his most familiar conversation is about the talented 10.
Yes.
What we often miss about that concept is it migrates and adjusts its numbering system based off of the gross national product. So when you look at when he said it, that talented 10 by value has now probably diminished to a talented 6%. The whole concept around his thought process is that there is a 10% out of the 100 that are like-minded, purpose-based thinkers. And within that context, you've got to galvanize their thought, because the truth of it here is, and many people won't like this, is 90% are completely lost. I want to say that again. 90% are completely lost. Why that's a hard pill to digest is in this 6% that has now diminished by the time, the value of the dollar, and the value of the understanding, is that there is 1% who is operating at their optimum level of purpose. Wow. There are about 2% who have their head above the water, but they're trying to figure out how to galvanize what they've configured to turn into a profit. And the remaining 3 are literally keeping their nose above the water, but the consistent great message is they're all on the like-minded page. Wow. Within that dynamic, 94% of the people are operating outside of their purpose, operating outside of their clear context, and are not around people who think like they think. So what challenges us is when it comes down to the economics of our circumstance, we have a jaded system because we bought into the concept of corporate America. I thought about my mother, who was a baby boomer. Her goal was to work, and this is no knock on her, for 38 years for a major corporation so that she could get a gold watch. Wow. The second dynamic of this is that to change that mindset, the biggest challenge I had in becoming an entrepreneur is to find somebody that looked like me that was an entrepreneur. The other challenge in that context was based off of the fact that they had made inroads that other people had not made. When you ask them what was required to be an entrepreneur, the overall statement that they would make would be, and I quote, "Just work hard, young man." It is not a system. It is not a process. It doesn't give me any insight. But because they were so concerned about canning all they could get, sitting on the can and never opening up to pour into somebody else's glass, it forced me to be in a circumstance that I was building with no blueprint. So the challenge was we had to change the system, because the system of thinking was minimized by a system that forced us to think like a system that was not created for us. Right. Second dynamic was you've got to change the structure, because when I was looking at research, working on my MBA, working on my undergraduate, they stated that the structure was against me simply because most businesses fail in the first 2 years because they don't have capital. It is not so much that they don't have capital, they don't have a connection to the people that they're trying to reach. Right. Capital is in the pockets of your connection. You can get capital outside of the system when you know what you're connecting to and what their value is before you even identify it, until you tell them that they need it. And then they realize, yes, I do need it. The third thing was a psyche. We've got to now start thinking like we were already winning. So the challenge happens to be, it is different to be an employer and an employee, because an employee works on a structure of a 9 to 5. The problem is when you are employer, you work when your highest moment of creativity is there. Right. You're not working for a set amount of time. And the biggest challenge in that is why the purpose is so important is because of the fact that many people miss when you are an employee. You've stated in no uncertain terms that I have not identified the value or my purpose within that value. So you don't know the quantifiable price to put on it because you've never identified it. When you are an employer, you're saying, I know how much my value is, and I realize you have no idea of what your value is. So I will purchase your time at wholesale and turn around and sell it back to my target at retail. It forces us to understand I have to know my value.
Hold on, Kervance. Hold on. I need you to repeat just that statement right there, because I feel like that's the linchpin for economic empowerment. First of all, I don't believe there can be economic empowerment without an entrepreneurial spirit.
Yes.
Sure.
Even if you go into the corporate sector, you should only be using it as a means to an end.
Yes.
And not at the end itself. And that's what you're saying. So repeat that last statement you said.
So purpose is so important because it identifies value.
Mm-hmm.
Most people who are employees have verbally stated without even realizing it that I do not know my value. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow you to put a price on something that I have not identified. An employer says, I'm clear on my value, but I need people to go out and carry my value beyond my reach. So since you don't know, I will purchase your lack of value at wholesale and turn around and sell it at retail. It is important simply because on your job description at the bottom, it says, and all other job functions. That is that dynamic that says, I am going to continually sell you for cheaper because you have no identity or value. When you come in as an entrepreneur, most people do not realize that the term entrepreneur and undertaker are synonyms. I'm going to say that again. Entrepreneur and undertaker are synonyms. It is an individual undertaking calculated risk. And why this has to change in our psyche is because many of us have never been taught how to take risk. We've always been taught that risks are dangerous.
Right.
High risk, high reward. Medium risk, medium reward. Low risk, low reward.
Say those again, one more time.
High risk, high reward. Medium risk, medium reward. Low risk, low reward. But this is the clincher. No risk, no reward. Of what we're doing for municipalities. The big challenge in going into a municipality, particularly like College Park has a verbal subliminal message that they're sending to people that we had to start changing. It's the only college park in the United States of America, get this, that doesn't have a college or university in its boundary lines.
Wow.
Why is that important? Because you just missed an economic power, but you called yourself a name that you didn't embody. This is what happens in the economic dynamic of the Black community. We have been taught for so long that we shouldn't take risk, that we should work, that we should be educated to take our education and get in somebody else's system that doesn't look like us, and the reward will be gold that you already own.
So pause right there, Kervance. I want to bring Raymond back into this conversation because you've talked into this triangle that Raymond described earlier. And you all have both set a masterful stage. That's why Stephen and I didn't give you all the context because we knew y'all came with context assembled. So Raymond, talk to the connectivity and continuity that's necessary between education and economics. And then because you're doing some things both on the policy side of this as well as practical engagement and empowerment. So speak to that. And then Kervance, as he speaks to it, you all can just kind of have a conversation. Stephen and I are going to eavesdrop.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But I want you to weave in, especially from this municipality, because that's what people are missing. Yes, vote in November. Yes, we've got to change the occupant at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue or Black Lives Matter way. But while we're doing this, understand the real power is municipal power.
Yeah.
It's local power. It's infrastructure. So Raymond, talk about this a little bit, and then Kervance, y'all just weave a tapestry here. We got time, so y'all just weave this out a little bit.
Yeah. Now Kervance has just taught the class already, so
exactly.
I got he just can text me my certificate, and I'm good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Kervance, we want our Kingmaker University KU certificate, and I want a T-shirt. A sweatshirt. We not playing with you.
I got you. I got you a hoodie and a t-shirt coming.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I need mine medium because I've been in the gym. But
you know what?
So Kervance just hit on something that I think as Black Americans, we've been focusing on ingredients as the end, right? And Ricky, Dr. Ricky always tells this story about the cake and the egg, and you look at all that stuff together, it don't look like nothing, but those are just the ingredients from which the cake is made. And I think we get so focused on where we graduated from college, what job we have, as the end, when those are just ingredients, right, to liberation, right? Without those ingredients, you don't have capacity. And then when the opportunity presents itself to really liberate yourself and others, you're not ready. I'll give you a great example. And so this concept of capacity meeting opportunity, it's just like there's $1 million home in Atlanta, in Buckhead, but they only cash and they just need 200,000 and they're trying to move on, right? And so it's two things about opportunity. One, you have to have the network and access to know about that opportunity, right? Because if you ain't in that circle, you don't know that Mr. Jones and them got this house and they just want the cash. They ain't worrying about losing. When they built it, it wasn't worth nothing anyway. And they just want the cash money out of it, right? And so one is we don't have access to the opportunity to know about it. But probably even more frustrating than that is you actually in the country club and you're ear hustling and you hear about the opportunity, but you don't have the capacity. You don't have $200,000, or as Kervance say, you don't know anybody, a network that can put together that amount of money to buy this $1 million asset for $200,000. And so with America has not lied to us because the opportunity is here. But where I come in and what the problem is we haven't had the capacity or created the capacity through white supremacy. Let me call it what it is. I was about to say systemic racism and all this, but through white supremacy, we haven't created the capacity to be able to, when we then identify these opportunities that exist, take advantage of them. And so I think it's really, really important for people to fight on both sides of the spectrum. I'll give you a great example. I'm here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, downtown. I can see the Mississippi River from my condo where I'm at. And they had this story that was told. I heard it. I think it was from the CEO of the Harlem Children's Zone. He always told the story about they had a man standing on the bank of the river. And he saw three men standing on the bank of the river. They saw one kid floating down the river. And so the first man jumped in the river to go get that black boy out of the river. And as he's standing there, so now you got a man in the river, you got a boy in the river, another boy comes floating down the river. And what do you think that second boy does? That second man does that's on the bank? He jumps in the river. So now you got two men in the river, two boys in the river. They're trying to get back to the banks. As those two men and two boys are in the river, there's another boy floating down the river. What do you think the third man does? Any guess what the third man does? Nobody knows.
We smart enough to know we being set up.
Right. No, y'all all preachers. Y'all like, we ain't going for it. So conventional wisdom says the third man jumps in the river too. But instead, the third man started running. And they said, where are you running? He said, well, look, y'all get the boys out the river. I'm going to run up the way and see who throwing them in there and stop them, right? and so I think what we have been as Black people, we've been trying to liberate ourselves by jumping in the river. But enough of us have not been running up to stop them from throwing us in there.
Right.
And so, I mean, I'm a stopper. I can't swim that good. You know what I mean? And so I think we have to, when we think about education, it's not just about the teachers. The research does show that Black male teachers are important, right? All of the research does show, that Black men are disproportionately, their genius stolen from them from the current public school system that we have. all of that research exists, and there is work to be done there. But likewise, we have hundreds of millions, billions of dollars going into public school systems, our tax dollars, just like in the municipal, that we don't have control of, right, to liberate ourselves. And these are our tax dollars that we have to take control of. So, I focus on helping people get elected to school boards, right? Local school boards. Help people get policy and advocacy jobs, actually setting the policies at state departments of education and other nonprofits. And then most importantly, just helping people organize, right? Getting other people to organize other people to run up river with us to stop the people from throwing our kids in the river. And so that's where I'm at, and I think that's what we have to think about as a people. There are a lot of different ways to get in. Everybody's not going to run for office. Everybody's not going to work in the administration of a city council person or a mayor. Everybody's not going to organize, but everybody has a role to play. And that triangle exists, with you get that education and health. And, we have a fitness center here. Our father thought that healthcare piece was really, really important. Because a lot of people, you can't be a disciple or make disciples if I got to visit you in the hospital every day, right? And so that education and health, and then that means of income, where Kervance was talking about, I mean, it's so many ways to get at it, but we just have to apply ourselves, and we have to stop majoring on the minor things.
So this triangle, the education fuels economy, economy fuels education. Kervance, you literally just dropped the bomb on us. You gave us the 411 and really let us behind the curtain. If we were in church, we say beyond the veil. All right. Yeah. Of the science of this economic matrix. I need you to talk before we go off, and Stephen's just going to put the bow on it that we need so folk can carry this with them. I need you to talk for a moment about to the person that's watching this that says, look, I'm trying to get a hold on my economic blueprint. I'm trying to find, like you said, you didn't have a blueprint. You had to create one, which is why you stand as a kingmaker and a king. I need you to speak to those individuals that are watching who say, look, I can relate. Matter of fact, somebody posted, I just learned something new when you were talking earlier about that, and they need a blueprint. Where can they start? I know we're not trying to give them the whole thing. You go to Kingmaker University if you want to crack the code. But what we can do is at least get you into the door. So speak to that person. Give us some practical processes and some tools that people can use at a ground level just to start shifting the trajectory they have in a more positive way.
Shakespeare says, to thine own self be true. And the first thing that has to happen is we've got to be honest with who we are and what we're equipped with. In studying for this PhD research, I learned a word the first week called epistemology. Epistemology is a highfalutin term for the study of knowledge.
Yep.
It's the nature of philosophy and the science of philosophy that investigates how we think, our limitations, and where we got the information from. We've got to be comfortable relearning what we've been taught.
Right.
And this big piece of it, and I always go back to this concept of purpose. Your answer is always in your purpose. Your purpose is that one thing that you've been designed to do, that if you don't get it done, it won't get done. It comes so easy to you that you overlook it because your epistemology has taught you it's got to be something greater than the simplicity. But it resolves what you hate seeing happen in society. Again, it's natural in your hand, but that which is in your hand resolves the burden that you hate seeing happen in society.
Right.
Why is that such a rethink of how we've been taught? From an educational standpoint, you go 12 years plus 4 to get you to a career that most of us hate. And it never engages you into the starting point that if you started as a child developing what is it that you naturally have the gift to do,
Exactly.
It now encompasses an economy that you don't have to work at, you just have to cultivate. Why is this a transition to your economics? Simply because in marketing, they have 5 P's and 4 C's. One of those C's is competition. For me, there are only 3 C's. Why? Because you can't compete with my authentic me. There are too many clear blue oceans of water that are not in the competition, that when you understand corporate America has been designed off of the template of war and mass competition between territories. So the bloody waters of corporate America have the template of me fighting to kill you for that which doesn't belong to me. What I have to now do is look at these clear waters. And once I understand that, I can now say, this is where I will start. Let me find a parallel thought process that says I have started in this space and this is where I build. So the first piece of your economy is your intellect. It's your purpose. It's your inspiration. The second piece of your economy that you've got to build from is understanding that you have the ability to identify a need that people don't realize until you tell them it's necessary. I'll say it again. You have the ability to identify a need that people don't realize they need until you tell them it's needed.
Hold on a minute.
Nobody until Apple told them. The iPhone is not a phone. What it is a device that galvanizes applications, that masters email, that allows you to interact with people beyond your context.
Yep.
And by the way, they dropped a phone inside of it. Without this, you now realize I can throw away my flip phone. I can throw away my rotary phone. I can now even put my laptop in my hand. It's a need that they perceived, and now that they told us we needed it, we now started consuming it. So first of all, it's already in you. Second, it is a need that you perceive. Thirdly, you realize that once you put those two together, there are resources that you can receive and rejuvenate. What does that mean? Being Black is a resource in the United States of America. Whether it is through government grants, whether it is through loans, whether it is through components of your Black makeup that the government is paying for. And they only have these numbers and dollars earmarked when you have the knowledge to realize that it's available. They keep it there, knowing that you won't find it. And they keep turning it over until you say, oh, you got it for me and I've done the work. This is the problem. Most of us don't realize that they have money for us to use for us to make money on others.
Right.
This is the third challenge, but the fourth.
Wait, hold on. You rushing too fast. They have money for us to use for us. Here's the key. I don't think everybody heard this. We're going to slow it down, slow jam. Money for us to use for us to create things for others.
Yeah.
Which now causes the money to mushroom within our community, because now we're not being the ones that's having the life of our currency sucked out of us by other people. Now we're creating something with monies that were provided to us to now go into other cultures and communities and make an exchange for the currency they have.
That's why it's so important. That's why I start with purpose, because they've identified our purpose and sold our purpose to us. And because of the fact that they identified it, we now become consumers of a purpose that we are unaware of. This is why number 4 becomes number 1. You now got to see the person that looks like you as a valued commodity for you.
Yes.
This is why it becomes a tragedy simply because, going back to the original statement, Shakespeare said, "To thine own self be true." You've got to see yourself as true in the other self that mirrors you, so that you can spend with people that look like you. This is why the problem becomes, the reason I don't spend money with Black people is because they don't know how to give good customer service. Well, white people don't either. Indians don't
right
either.
and you go spend the
Koreans,
money anyway.
and you spend the money anyway.
Right.
So what you got to do is be true to the reality that nobody will treat you the way you would treat you. But if it doesn't stop you in other ethnic groups, it shouldn't stop you in the mirror.
Ooh.
And this is why it requires, as my friend would say, a mirror moment to look at us and realize the reason the dollar is not turning around is not because the dollar isn't there. We just don't want to give the dollar to somebody that mirrors the somebody we're looking at.
Yes, sir.
So this is where the basis of the blueprint comes. It's 4 steps, but you've got to rethink and recreate your epistemology so that you can be true to yourself and turn the dollar around with people that look like you.
Yeah, and if the world hadn't showed us anything to date, we all we got, right? And that's been our little saying all week. We've been in a political battle here in Louisiana, in Baton Rouge, and my little friend group, we remind each other every day, we all we got out here right now.
Yeah, I echo that sentiment. And this is not a point of bragging, but I think it just ties into what Kervance was saying. Over the past 2 weeks, I think that I've hooked up African American business owners, small business owners, with around $400,000 at this point.
Wow.
As it relates to economic stimulus money that they didn't think they could gain access to. I got my people, I plugged in with my people got them paper. That's what we got to do, because ain't nobody else showing us the game. So when
how much money you said again? I'm gonna make you brag since you don't want to brag. How much money you said again?
We're around 400,000.
Okay, and counting.
And counting, yeah, because I'm looking for people to plug in.
Right.
You know,
and he means this. Like, Stephen's not playing with this. He means it. Don't let the light skin fool you. He a Black militant.
I think the big thing, Ricky, and if you don't mind, the challenge here is there are not enough Stephens in our hue.
No, I don't mind. And you're exactly right.
The big reality in this process happens to come into the place where we've got to educate people who look like us on opportunities that they were unaware of.
Right.
And that's why it goes back to the education within the dynamic of our municipalities.
Right.
Because I have gone in to help what we call Black cities. And the biggest challenge I've had going into Black cities is trying to validate with Black people that I'm a Black business that is bigger than the white business that they don't do the scrutiny for.
Right.
I'll give you a perfect example.
Yes, sir.
When I came into one of my cities, I had laid everything out and they had me partner with a white business. This white business, in context, hear me clearly, only had 2 employees. Say that again. They only had 2 employees and had never worked for a major municipality that had more than white people in that municipality.
Wow.
My company employs 24 staff members in 10 states. When the white partner got with me, in my mind, I realized that we had capacity to take our infrastructure, our information, and our experience with their lack of experience and color in front of them, and then go around and change the world. The first thing the white owner said to me was, "So when you say you got employees, do you mean you have people who work for you?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Like you write checks?" I said, "Yes." As we started galvanizing, the Black owned or Black run municipality was forcing me to validate that I was a business without ever requiring the white corporation or white business to do the same.
Wow.
When we got down to the contract, Ricky, they made me fly 75% of my staff to a board meeting.
What?
And when we came in the boardroom, it was so many of us that we couldn't get everybody in the boardroom. And this was the meeting. Oh, we just wanted to see that you all were real. Now, we've been working for 6 months.
Wow.
But you're getting ready to sign a contract. You look like me. But you couldn't fathom that I employed more people than a white guy. Nobody in the room was white. Am I lying, Steve?
I'm one of the employees. I was there. This is a true story. I flew all the way to Atlanta for a 10-minute meeting for them to look at
10 minutes, Ricky, to prove that I've got people.
This is crazy.
Team. And you want me to tell you what made the difference? I employ a white man. And when they saw the white guy, all of us are dressed to the nines. And I shared with my white staffer, be yourself. He came in cargo pants,
right?
New books, a button up, and for them to see that, they literally dismissed the meeting in 10 minutes.
Wow.
What we've got to do is change. It's not just government, it's perspective.
Perspective. Yeah. It's like I said earlier, perspective is everything. We've got to shift that. Stephen, in these closing moments, you and I was just having one of our conversations. I mean, there's no label for it. We were just talking last night over the phone, and organically, in the course of that conversation, we came up with 3 C's that I think from what Kervance has shared about people shaping a blueprint for economic prosperity and posterity. We talked last night about 3 C's. Number 1 was calling. Identifying what you've been equipped with that's unique to you that nobody else has like you.
Yes.
Number 2 is competence. And that is creating this track record of proficiency in how you use the potential, the gifts, the talents you have to accomplish that calling. And then number 3, which I consider to be the anchor, is capacity. Having the range to be able to be fluid, to adapt, to do what's had to happen over these past 3 months with all of us pivot. I want you in this closing moments. I think this show deserves an overtime. I mean, and thank you again, Kervance. Thank you again, Raymond. Yeah. Y'all have colored this thing for real. Sure. And added so much texture, not only to this conversation, but to what we're doing as a movement with The Revolution Will Not Be Televised, it will be streamed, because you're literally helping people to navigate and in some cases circumnavigate. Because there's some things, to Kervance's point and some of the points Raymond made, you all are helping us to understand that it's not necessarily meant for us to go through every process that society sets in front of us. Some things we need to circumnavigate and say, no, I don't even, matter of fact, that's getting in my way. I don't even need that in my life. Stephen, talk to us just from the context of the conversation you and I were having last night, in these closing moments, about how we move through this and how people can really posture themselves for economic and educational empowerment.
Sure. Since we preachers and we always find a way to shift back to this, this preacher space, this church space, I'm reminded of John chapter 5. We find in that particular text, Jesus coming into an encounter with the man who'd been laying by the pool of Bethesda. He'd been laying there for 38 years. There was once a year where the angel would trouble the water. First one to get in the water would be made whole. They would be healed. And so we see in this encounter, in the conversation that takes place between Jesus and this invalid, this lame man, Jesus challenges him to get up, to do what he needs to do. And the man says, I would, but every time I get to the water, somebody is already in the water. They've already got their healing. They already got their blessing. They beat me to it. I was waiting for somebody else to put me in, but by the time I get there, somebody else had gotten there.
Right.
And so when I look at our African-American context, of course, the white man has had a 472-year head start. And so Black people will say, hey, I've got issues. They've got a head start. I can't get in the water because they already beat me to the water. But Jesus asked the man, do you want to be made whole? And
Right.
that's the same question that I want to ask us from an economic perspective and from an educational perspective. Do you want to be made whole?
Right.
Because when I read the text very slowly in verse number 7, the man says, I'm waiting for somebody else to put me in the water.
Right.
When I get there, somebody else has already gotten in. That tells me that this man had the ability to get to the water and in the water, but he was waiting for somebody else to do it for him.
Right.
How long are we going to keep waiting for somebody else to give us a handout or a hand
Preach,
up
preacher.
for us when we have the innate ability that God has placed in us to do it for us by ourselves?
Right.
We've got to make some moves. We got to make some decisions. We've got to change our mindset from an economic perspective and from an education perspective to stop waiting on them to do for us. And the question can't be who's going to let me. The question has to shift to who's going to stop me.
Right.
And we got to keep running, keep pushing, and to hell with everybody else. We're doing this for ourselves, by ourselves, to connect us to what we need to have.
Amazing. Listen, today has been awe-inspiring is the word. That's awesome and inspiring together. It has been awe-inspiring. Kervance headed out. Raymond is still with us. Raymond, quickly, just I know you talked about putting people on the school board, getting people in public office, of course, making the changes in policies. But if you've got parents that are watching, as we prepare to go off today, they're doing with many people still being working from home, even though the stay-in-place orders have been lifted. They find their lives are still existing in one space with parents working while children are supposedly going to school. We discovered in Chicago, what is it, Steve? I forget, the numbers were staggering. Like the majority of the students basically wasn't even checking in.
Yeah, they chilling.
But so Raymond, quickly talk to parents about what they can do, how they can make the shift. I think Kervance has made it back. There you are. You back in the house.
Yeah,
You perfect, Kervance.
yeah,
Talk to us about what they can do to make this shift.
yeah. I mean, so I think two things, and Kervance, I think, had a thought about this. You have to look at it. You have to change the way you think about it and think about it as an opportunity. The most of the schools that we're supporting are not genius greenhouses right now, right? And so they're not
Wow, that's good.
liberation factories. Uh, and so think of this as a unique opportunity to think about the education of your children, and what they need to really live purpose-filled or liberated lives, as I call it. Think about this as an opportunity. There will be a lot of opportunities as a result of this. Some states are thinking about homeschooling and paying parents to support kids directly rather than giving it to the school system. There are a lot of different ways. I mean, I think now more than ever, virtual schools and really high quality things that are wrapped around with social interactions are things that parents can think about. And so just think about this as a new opportunity to think about the liberation of your children. Your children didn't fill out an application to be here. That's not how children get here. And so it's your responsibility to really wrap yourselves around them. And then the second thing, which is another thing, I mean, Kervance has so many nuggets he's dropped on me. It's just these school systems and whether it's an individual school too, they do not exist unless your kid goes there. I mean, you own the system. Without you, they don't have anything. And so I think we have to think about too the power that we have in being Black in these systems that are predominantly Black, and understanding like without us, it does not exist. And the power of that, I think we've been kind of forced into the consumer mindset that we're waiting on somebody to come save us, not understanding we have the power. Like these things are created for us. And if it's not serving us, we have the power to do something about it. And so get involved. Once again, my website is urbanedbr.com. You can go there on Instagram at urbaned, anywhere, Twitter, same thing. Reach out to me directly. No matter where you're at, I can put you in contact with somebody that can help you get involved. And either helping create capacity for yourself or opportunities for others to be liberated, live liberated lives through education.
Thank you, man. Kervance, let everybody know how they can get in touch with you and connect with you.
Yes. Again, Ricky, Stephen, thank you so much for the opportunity. I was honored, humbled, and excited about being on this platform anywhere on social media. It is I am KervanceRoss. I'm the only one in the world, so you're not going to pull up anybody else. I am KervanceRoss on every platform. My website is thekingmakersclub.com, thekingmakersclub.com. You can find our company at KDR, K as in King, D as in Dog, R as in Robert, consults.com. And anytime you tune on to anything New Birth, I'll be right there.
And I need you all to start a petition for Kingmakers University, please. KMU, start a petition now. We need like 100 students to sign up today. Make him do this. Me and Stephen and Raymond sign up to be adjunct professors. I mean, we're in, right. You know, for a small fee. We're in, you know. And y'all go ahead and just, matter of fact, just start cash apping in money. Be like, I'm seeding into this, you know. So
put the cash app on the screen.
What is it?
Just a point of personal privilege. We just secured the trademark for the Kingmaker. So now I own that name and that
wow.
word, so we're excited about that.
Congratulations. So Kingmaker University is next, people.
Yes.
My brother, StephenThurston, man, you're the best. Yeah, I appreciate you. We've been rolling with this show. We've got so many other things that we're brewing behind the scenes. I promise you, y'all just want to just keep hanging with us for life, because like we got some stuff coming. Stephen does something called Mirror Moments. He has a book called Mirror Moments. Just go get it. It's everywhere, as they say, not everywhere. It's everywhere. Go get Mirror Moments. But he has a Mirror Moments conversation on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Time. I don't want to leave anybody out. Make sure y'all tune into that conversation. And then, of course, he's got this new book, Unplug, just helping you to disconnect from the digital space so you can explore your personal space. Oh, that's a good tag, Stephen. Take that with you when you take it on the road. This is how we flow just in regular conversation. Yes, so if you're trying to mine and explore your personal space, he shows you how to do that. So go to StephenThurston.com and get that. He's also got a Mirror Moments movement that's coming, among other things, as if he does not have enough to do. But we're just trying to give you everything that you need because we want you to maximize your potential, mobilize your purpose, multiply your possibilities. So, Stephen, thank you for being my partner in this, man. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Rick. And y'all won't be complete unless you connect with Rick's site, RickyAllmon.org. Pick up his book, his ebook, his audio book, all that he has in terms of providing insight and information to empower you and equip you to push you to your full potential. And on Thursday nights, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, you can catch Ricky. And then at noon, it's noon, right? Every day, Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
You can catch Rick as well on Facebook.
I took a hiatus this week because after last week with everything we were dealing with protests, my brain I was like, if I come on at noon, I'ma just be spewing. You know, you have so much happening in your head. I was like, I can't tell them that. So I'm trying to parse it and parcel it. Yes, but I'll see y'all again at noon this week. So I'm looking forward to that.
Cool.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate everybody connecting with us today. Again, hit that share button if you hadn't already done it. Go over to the private Facebook group, join that group, answer the 3 questions. And then next Saturday, same time, we'll be right back here to equip you and empower you, mobilizing you, maximizing you, pushing you to your full potential.
We'll see you next week.
Thank you.